What's going on, EoP sports fans? It's Wednesday night. It's a little after 8:30. It's time for EoP. I'm Big Al.
I'm Freddie Burns.
And Joe Sheeran has the night off tonight. You'll definitely be hearing from him soon at one point. But guess what, guys? There's a lot of talk to be had about Philadelphia sports in general, but of course, your Philadelphia Eagles. A.J. Brown broke his silence that he's been kind of put up since, the last 3 weeks, I would say, to the media. He hasn't really talked to the media since I guess it was the Seattle game. He just frustrations were had, and it's he finally speaks. And guys, I remind you that this is brought to you by PhillySportsTrips.com, Sherry'sTickets.com, CherryInjuryLaw.com, as well as Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park. We're going to thank all our sponsors. You get to hear about them further as we go along into the show. So, Fred, the Eagles, Cardinals. I'm just going to ask this question right now: worst loss in as far as you can remember for the Eagles?
As far as expectation wise and losing a game that should definitely be. They said it on WIP earlier, but I thought the same exact thing. It kind of reminds you of that Joe Webb game where it was just like you're supposed to definitely win this game. And you were coming off at that time. It was coming off the D-Jacks, punt return.
Was that the one where it was on Tuesday night?
Yeah, it was snowing. They moved the game to a Tuesday night. It's kind of on that level as far as this is a definite win to how did they lose it, but to blow that lead and just the way even when they had the lead though, you didn't feel good. It just didn't feel good. It didn't look good. The first drive.
When was the last time you felt good about the Eagles doing anything? Like you felt confident?
Anything?
I guess.
Anything? I don't know. I was confident in games this year. I thought against the Dolphins we would put up points. I thought there was against the Vikings when we committed to the run. But as far as as a complete team, I would say last year because there's always something you could probably pick at every single week this year. But, they were 10-1 at one point. So you hung your hat on resilience and, good teams find a way to win. But that train has kind of fell off to the side now at this point. Because what have we lost now? 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6, whatever it is.
5 out of 6.
So it's definitely, depressing. But I am an optimist. And there are scenarios where we're okay. And, maybe we'll get into those later. I know we're going to jump into the A.J. Brown stuff first. But, there's avenues that if we win on the road that could galvanize this team in the playoffs. I mean, you go into New Orleans, let's say. That's one of the toughest places to play, especially in a playoff game in that dome. And you get a win, that could galvanize the entire team. There's examples through history of teams that have lost. The 2012 Ravens – lost 6 out of their final 7. They won the Super Bowl. What was the other year? The Eagles had a year like that under Reed and ended up going to the NFC Championship. So hope isn't all lost. And the Cowboys definitely aren't some team that's guaranteed to win next week either. So they love to choke. So, I fully haven't given up hope, or at least the idea that they could lose to the Commanders Sunday. My issue is though, would we still lose to the Giants?
Yeah, well, I mean, how long have Eagles fans kind of been pounding their chest that look, you guys lost to the Cardinals, and then what happens? We lose to the Cardinals. But like I said, A.J. Brown has spoke today. I'm going to play a clip or two real quick for you. And then I want to get into your thoughts before he talked and since he talked. Has anything changed in your perspective? And we'll go from there. So I'll play the first one. The first one is he is, how seriously they take, and this comes from Al Thompson at Football Stories. He's down there covering the game, friend of the show, and he sent me these clips.
Had hours after the sun is going down. This is our life. We dedicate our whole entire life to this shit. I'm sorry, I'm cursing, but it's serious to us. You know what I'm saying? And so it comes with frustration because if one man goes the wrong way, a half inch, the play is over. It doesn't work, and that's what happened. And that's what actually happened that last drive. That Brian is getting crucified on the play call or whatever. That second play. If somebody goes to the left and block a certain person, it's a 30-yard touchdown by Jalen. Where he runs in. So that's why it's the greatest game that's the greatest game it is today, because it takes all 11 to be on the same page. If one person mess up, the whole play over.
So that was, like I said, it was AJ Brown. He how one person make a mistake. He talks a little bit that's not in the audio, saying, well, the coach is suited up 0% of the time this year. It's on the players. He's behind Nick. Nick Sirianni's loyal to him. He's loyal to Nick Sirianni, and he was riding with Brian Johnson. Has your thought, before and after now changed about what was going on with the whole AJ Brown not speaking to the media situation?
I didn't think it was that big of a deal, to be honest with you. I don't get why we get all hype over these players talking. It was probably better that they don't talk. I mean, I don't even like that they have to speak every single time. It's like they can't even they have to put up a completely fraudulent side of themselves to the media just to get through their day. And I just think it's nonsense. I was more concerned with the sideline stuff and seeing that, when the players are becoming visibly frustrated, that means there is an issue. I'm happy that they're frustrated. I'm glad that AJ Brown was mad, but there were times during the season where they were winning and he was mad too, whether that wasn't getting the ball or what that was. But, I don't know if the further clips you're going to play, if he's going to talk about it, but he further said that, Devontae Smith down on the ground was more what he was shaking his head at. And I don't know if that's BS or not, but, it doesn't really matter. All the drama is not good. I don't like drama. When you have drama surrounding your football team, it's a problem. And some of it's induced by the Philadelphia media, but it's the players too. It's AJ Brown tweeting, "I will speak tomorrow." It's Darius Slay battling people on Twitter. It's Kenny Gainwell private messaging people at halftime. This is all an encompassing thing of drama and unfocused on the task at hand. So that's what I ultimately take from this whole media player stuff right now.
And later in the show, not too much later in the show, we're going to be having our top 5 reasons the Eagles are struggling, which we'll be bringing that up. And that kind of falls in a little bit of it. But he talks about the media. I don't have the clip about it. He does talk about the media, particularly one media person who recently wrote an article kind of saying that they have an AJ Brown problem, and kind of blaming him and blaming the situation. And AJ wasn't silent about it, and he was going to ask him if he was there, who was his sources. But I guess it can make most people. I mean, I guess I feel a little better in the sense, I don't read too much into people being frustrated. Of course you're frustrated. Like he said, this is what they do all year long. They play. And when you're 10-1 and then all of a sudden you can't win a game if your life depends on it, yeah, frustration is going to set in. Now, granted, I think it's a bigger problem when he's complaining when they're winning versus complaining when they're losing. And like you said, I do have one here where he talks, somebody asked him about targets and complaints like that. So I'll play that real quick.
An individual thing.
I already kind of addressed that, but that's something I can't really control. Honestly, man, I don't even ask for the ball in the game. I don't even talk to Brian. I don't say nothing to nobody. Smitty is the one vocal. He's the more vocal one, and y'all don't even see that. But I don't say nothing during the game. I don't ask for the ball, But if a wide receiver says anything that he's classified as a diva, he's want the ball. No, maybe I'm holding my team as accountable. We have those tough conversations. But if a quarterback does it, then don't nobody say nothing. But if a receiver does it, then it's the end of the world. But that is what it is, and I can't control that. I know who I am. And
so, again, he's kind of blaming the media for making bigger deals about stuff than he normally would. But again, we've been hoping that, okay, maybe beating three lesser like 3 games against 2 lesser teams would make us feel better. I mean, even if the Giants come out and they beat the Giants, 70-0, do you feel better about this team than you do right this moment?
Yeah. If they beat them 70-0, yes, I would feel better. I would feel a lot better. And I'd feel like, all right, we're on the right track, as they all keep saying we're close. Even AJ Brown admitted to being close. So I think there's still an opportunity here to make a run. There's been many teams we've seen that have had adversity that, have to battle through it and grow and at the end maybe right the ship. So we've seen that through the Wentz era. There was times until his last year, they always found a way to still get to the playoffs, whether that was Wentz or Foles at the helm. And they were all in tough spots. So, it takes one game to get it right. And I do think they could do that. Do I think they're going to beat the Giants 70-0? Probably not. The weather's not supposed to be good. And, Tyrod Taylor is not trash to Vito, which I don't know why New York thought he was good. He's off Tyrod Taylor isn't like a great quarterback by any means, but he's adequate. And the way our defense is playing and how awful they are, he certainly can move the football down the field.
I got a long one here from Bo. It's completely on the players. Must have been playing the game for well over a decade. They know how to tackle and how to pursue. They should know how to attack on offense as well. I don't know how much but I know instincts. And if I cannot follow their instincts and play the game, they will continue to lose. They looked like a high school team out there, especially on defense. All right, well, let's talk about at least one part what Bo said, and said, tackling. Tackling has been an issue. Our boy Shane Half put a stat out there. They have like the highest, I think it's like 13%, over 13% missed tackle rate, I think, against the Cardinals. And I think it's even over the last few, since the Niners loss, it has been extremely high. What about that? What does that tell you? Like, yes, it is the players, but is it like, I kind of go back to preseason, and I talked with you guys preseason, the difference between a Doug Peterson preseason and now a Nick Sirianni preseason, especially from the injuries. Do you think maybe the practices are too light, or they're not running the right drills? Even, is there anything to do with that?
I mean, they have a chance to be going into the week 17 here with a fully healthy team. Slay's about to play. You may get Devontae Smith back. And who's the third guy, the linebacker? Maybe. So they have the opportunity to do that. So I can't really argue with the philosophy with the practicing and stuff. They, by and large, they're a pretty healthy team. And I don't think you've been playing football your whole life. Like, you know how to tackle someone. Like, you either have that mentality or you don't. And you know how to do it. So we've seen in these games, third down, missed tackles that have caused big gains. And maybe that one game, their missed tackle ratio wasn't the top because Sirianni alluded to them being top in the league. And if you look across the rest of the league, they aren't as bad, missed tackle-wise. But there's been some killer missed tackles. I go back to even the Dallas game when they were kind of getting back in it, and Ferguson dragged Reed Blankenship for like 8 yards. Tackling is a mentality, and this defense overall has a softness to it. It does not have the meanness, the anger, the physicality that you would like to see. And the 49ers comments after the game, I forget who it was, said you kick them maybe it was Dallas. Yeah, it was Cowboy, DeMarcus Lawrence. You kick them when they're down, and then when they're down, you kick them some more, and like basically just saying we're soft. We out physical the Eagles. You watched the 49ers just bully them. Like, those throws to Deebo Samuel were 3-yard throws. They weren't lighting us up for big plays down the field. These were short passes and physically manhandling the defense. So whether it's the linebackers, the safeties, whoever it is, missed tackles are a mentality. They're a letdown. And they're an issue. And they're certainly an issue right now coming off this Cardinals game. I believe it was per Shane half was the 13.8% missed tackle rate versus Arizona. 11.5% versus Seattle, 13.1%. You know, if you're missing 15% of your tackles, I'm rounding up here, that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
Absolutely. And that's where I get nervous because and we're going to get into this a little bit further when we get our top five. So I'm not going to get too much into it. But let's see what Bo's saying here. Absolutely, I agree with Freddie. I know how to tackle and attack, get it done. The biggest fault of the team is defense. I've been saying it for years now. This year, it has become a serious problem. Which, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But it comes down to they've been out muscled. Like you kind of mentioned here, they've been out muscled since the Niners game. They were kicked and they were down. You would have thought going into Dallas, they would have had a little bit more gumption in them. People kept saying, you know, well, I don't know. It's a long streak. Both teams we got on a short week. Both teams had more time to rest. Okay, well then Seattle comes and they lay an egg in Seattle, and then you know they don't do well in Seattle. And Pete Carroll has their number and whatever. They got the Giants, the Cardinals, the Giants again. Everything will be fine. They beat the Giants, not in very convincing fashion, but they beat the Giants. And then, of course, this Cardinals game. This Cardinals game was just, I think it was the backbreaker for most people making excuses. And the excuse train is running heavy. And, you know, there is problems, not just on the defense, though. I'm going to push back a little bit. There's disconnect on the offense. There's not, I don't want to say Jalen has regressed, but I feel Jalen. Well, when I say regress, I feel like that means he's taken a big step back, but he is definitely not. He is definitely taken a step backwards. The O-line, like the scheme is predictable. Even the Arizona Cardinals rookie tight end Trey McBride, the guy that they kept and they let Zach. Yeah. And he's sitting there. He said, "Oh, we knew we were going to get it. Like we knew we were going to drive downfield. We weren't worried about it. We weren't worried about it at all." And you know that's now a couple times now. Got players on other teams or watching the games have called out the Eagles for being called predictable or making their stuff easy to read because it has been. And every time the other team needs like 4 or 5 yards, I feel it's like almost like an automatic play. And all it is a little slant play to a tight end in the middle of the field, or left or right side of the field, and they get it. It's like, and it's the same stupid, I feel like almost high schoolish type play. It's nothing fancy. There's no trickery involved. It is, and that's what I think becomes maddening. I see it coming. Fred, you see it coming, and all the people watching see it coming. But the people who need to know it, and they can't stop. It's like we've been talking all year long about the tush push, and nobody can stop it. Now we got these little simplistic plays. I feel the Eagles can't stop, and that's why it's very hard to jump back on board with this team. And outside of maybe winning their first 2 playoff games, I think most people it's going to be really hard to.
I don't know if you have the comment there, and I'm moving towards the offense. A.J. Brown made a comment today that loyalty of Nick Sirianni. So all this drama in the locker room about the coaching staff is kind of not the truth. And Nick Sirianni, though, here's what I took from that, though. So Nick Sirianni comes out after the Seattle game and basically lies to the media and says he called that ridiculous play when all they needed was like 15 yards to attempt a 60-yard field goal with 2 timeouts to try to draw a flag. When I think the big issue here is that, and the truth came out today, that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts decided to go rogue on the play call and just do whatever the hell they want. And that just shows you there's a problem. Like, you can't do that with the game on the line. And if you're going to do that, you better damn well hit on it. And if you're going to start audibling out of plays, why not start doing that? And you talked about Hurts regressing. How about we start doing that when you see an all-out zero blitz coming up to the line of scrimmage? When you've seen it time and time again. How about audible a slant route? Or how about the coaches call a slant route? Or a quick hit? Jesus, maybe we'll go to Little League, do a pop pass. But, like, if they're coming up with an all-out zero blitz on this team, you have to make adjustments. Hurts was good against the blitz last year, but overall as a team, their philosophy is just – it's just a mess. I don't know. But the fact that they went rogue on that play is just crazy. It just really is crazy.
And I'm glad you brought that up. But real quick, I want to bring up that when, sometimes going to any sporting event, concert event, or theater event, it could be an all-out zero blitz on your wallet. But don't worry, Sherry'sTickets.com has you covered. I don't care where you're at in the country. Go to Sherry'sTickets.com. Great prices for those impossible to get tickets and no hidden fees. You're not going to get bamboozled at checkout, and you're going to save an additional 10% off by using that great promo code EOP10. That's right. EOP10 will save you 10% off at Sherry'sTickets.com. Check them out, Sherry'sTickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Yeah, I mean, that kind of was a telling to me. Like, you're telling, like, in one breath, you're saying I have no problems with Brian Johnson. I got no problems with his play calling. I have no problems, yada, yada, yada. But then you made a rogue call. Then to me, that tells me that's a lie. And this organization has lied a lot lately. I mean, the whole Sean Desai and Matt Patricia, we're not making any changes. Boom, Matt Patricia's in there. They make the change right when everybody's on a plane to go to Seattle. Just good timing all around. So I can't believe what they say. Listen, I don't expect them to come out and say, "Hey, listen, we're planning on firing Sean Desai. Well, in the next couple of weeks, we'll let you guys know." I don't expect that to happen. But when you tell me you're going rogue, you're telling me in one fell swoop, you don't know what you want. You don't trust that play call. So,
what a mess. The coordinators. That's a whole. We'll get into that when we get into our reasons, but.
Well, why don't we do that? Let's jump into it right now.
All right, I'll pull it up for you.
Who's those handsome men? Look at those guys. Guys are handsome.
Hitting on yourself here. Well, yeah,
somebody's got to.
I guess you could just rattle off yours and I'll rattle off mine. But basically, me and Al today, we're just like, you know what? What's our top 5 reasons for the Eagles' issues right now, as it stands right now? And at first I had names, and then I decided to pull names off. So I'll probably allude to names as I go. But I'll let you go first, Al, or you want me to go first?
I'll go with my number 5, sloppy mistakes. There has been a problem, especially over the last 5 or 6 games, but it's been a little problem all year long, but a major problem when you start losing. And it's the shooting yourself in the foot mentality. They were able to get past it in some games, like the Chiefs game, the Bills game. They were able to survive that. But since that San Fran game, these sloppy mistakes have been murdering this team and putting them in bad situations. And to me, it's number 5 because in my eyes, it's the most fixable situation. So sloppy mistakes is my number 5.
My number 5, we just talked about it. I'm not going to hit it too much harder, but poor tackling. It was not an issue in the beginning of the year. The Eagles actually, believe it or not, if you go off of Pro Football Focus, they're ranked, as far as tackling goes, in the top 5 in the league. So it was not an issue, but I think as of late, and the recent stats show that, especially in these big losses down the stretch, the 49ers game, the 13.1% missed tackle ratio, Seattle 11.5%, Arizona 13.8%, and in the Dallas game, the stat escapes me. I don't have the stat, but I know for a fact that third down to Ferguson, there were multiple times they had stops and they give up a missed tackle that ends up causing them to lose the football game. So poor tackling. Not to mention, it's a huge attitude thing with your team to be a solid tackling football team. So hopefully they can turn that around. It's also something that's fixable. Poor tackling is fixable. You can fix that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why those ones would be in the 5 spot. Because they are very fixable things and hopefully can be fixed. Number 4, Reaction to adversity. Let's be honest. Since last year, I mean, all last year and the Super outside the Super Bowl, and even into the playoffs of last year, they really didn't have a hard time beating the teams. So adversity's been a little lacking. They went 10-1. There was some comments about not being a great 10-1 or a pretty 10-1 team, but they've had this adversity and they just haven't seemed to be able to overcome it, which again is a possible fixable situation, but a little harder because it's a mentality situation. Sloppy mistakes is poor execution. Poor tackling is a poor execution situation. Reacting to adversity and fixing those problems, that's a different problem. The fact that AJ Brown had to say, "Okay, I'm ready to talk now," or just the body language of the team on the sideline, coming off the field, every time you would think, "Okay, this is a get right game," nothing's right. It doesn't get there. Nothing's right. So the reaction to adversity is my number 4 reason. The Eagles' reaction to adversity is my number 4 reason for the Eagles' issues.
My number 4 reason is, converting on third downs, and that's both sides of the ball. Offensively, we got the tush push, so the fourth down, the fourth and short has been a high percentage play for us, basically 100%. It hasn't been stopped. But we've stalled. We've had drives, multiple 3 and outs, plenty of issues offensively, where last year we seemed to get those 3 and outs. We were highest in the league with third down and fourth down percentage. And this year we are certainly struggling. And more importantly, on the other side of the ball, absolutely horrific as far as conversions go. What's the stat here? 46.58%. So we're 30th in the league. Opponents convert on third down 46.58% of the time.
That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous is exactly exactly the word. I apologize for my coughing here. I'm trying to fight through it. But I mean, if teams are going to convert on third downs for your squad, there's no stopping. You're not going to be able to make stops. If you can't get stops, you can't win the football game. We put up 31 points last week. You should win the football game.
Yeah.
But the other team didn't punt once. And they had multiple third down conversions. And we've seen it happen in the Giants' comeback, where they kind of made it a little scary for us. We see it happen in Seattle. Dallas, another one. Big there. Third down conversions was huge in that game. 49ers, we just got the doors blown off of us. But through this streak here, third down conversions on both sides of the ball are an extreme issue that can be fixed. Again, can be fixed.
Mm-hmm. My number 3 will kind of break down further in 2 and 1, but overall philosophy of, I'm going to say the organization. The organizational philosophy, we've always talked about this in the past from the Carson Wentz era and even before that. Is this, I'm not going to get into is Howie Roseman, is Jeffrey Lurie, but in skiing, in the play calling, which I don't think they are, but are they, how are they getting ready? How are they practicing? What are they working on in practices? Are they too lackadaisical from a coaching? Because that's the problem. When you can't tell me if it's the offense, if it's the defense, if it's the coaching, if it's the players, because everybody could be right. Everybody could chime in right now and give me a reason why each one of those things are a problem, and they probably be on to something. There's not one just problem here. We have a bad defense. Okay, well, that's happened. We have a bad offense. Okay. We got both sides are just playing bad. We don't have a bad offense. They're just playing bad. We have, personnel-wise, defense is an issue. But this team shouldn't be a bottom defense. Maybe in the middle, 15. And this is the philosophy coming into the season, I think, for Howie Roseman. The way they were getting guys for defense after they lost a lot of their players from last year. The philosophy was have a mediocre defense and have a stellar offense, and that will put the mediocre defense stuff behind us. We could win like that. Well, guess what? Didn't work out that way. So the philosophy has to change. And again, it doesn't have to be a complete breakdown. And we'll get into that a little further in 2 and 1 with me. So philosophy is my number 3.
Number 3 for me, and I just updated the graphic. I had poor tackling on there.
I thought maybe you were really just trying to pound it home.
Nah. Number 3 for me is Jalen Hurts. I've been trying to fight this all year. I don't want to be negative because I like the guy. I love the work ethic, and I think he's going to put the work in to be better. I don't know if he's hurt, but man, does he just not look right? He does not look the same. It just doesn't feel right when he's in there. And we've had some games where he's been resilient, put him on his back, used his legs to win us or scramble to make open plays. But even they may be a lot worse without Jalen Hurts, though. I don't want to fully just knock him, but he has definitely taken a step back as far as seeing the field, identifying the open guys. Now, was that Shane Steichen? And was his first read open so much last year that it kind of confused us or not? But there are many times decision-making from Jalen Hurts is a problem. And once I heard that press conference today with A.J. Brown about him and A.J. going rogue, disregarding the play call at crunch time, I kind of had to put him in here. He's not recognizing the blitz at all. There's multiple times throughout the year, even when they were winning, does not step up in the pocket. Don't know if he's scared. Don't know if he's seeing ghosts. I don't know what it is. But Jalen Hurts. Now, again, these are the Eagles issues right now. The Eagles were 10-1 because of some of them games because of Jalen Hurts. But I'm talking about this stretch right here where we've lost 5 out of 6. So we're clarifying there. He is an issue. He's the leader of this team. He needs to use his legs. He needs to run. He needs to do whatever they got to do. Audible at the line of scrimmage. He's got to put the team on his back and get them out of this rut. Number 3, Jalen Hurts for me.
A good number 3. Number 2, offensive scheme or offensive scheming. I don't have to belabor this thought, but the offensive play calling is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. This is why teams go rogue, because the offensive play calling isn't working, and they know it, and it isn't changing. I was okay with Brian Johnson coming out. I figured he'd be like our guy. He worked with Shane Steichen. Maybe some of that rubbed off on him. He knows Jalen. But I was wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong. And normally I'm not sitting there going, fire an offensive head coach or offensive coach or anybody coaches right away, especially after their first year. But this is bad. This is really, really bad. And unfortunately, kind of going back to philosophy and some of the other stuff we talked about, the Eagles kind of put themselves in a bad way. They made this weird defensive change. They all know that Sean Desai is not coming back. And you haven't, but you're firing him or you're letting him go, whatever it is term you want to use. So can you fire both coordinators in the same year after 1 year and expect anybody with any clout or any really good offensive or defensive coach to want to go, yeah, I want to go to the Philly outside of maybe I want to work with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown? Because right now, a lot of the speculation we've had over the years is Howie or is Jeff Lurie, kind of like working guys like puppets. Is that why Doug left? Well, these are the kind of things that make people think that, because when you make big moves like this, I don't believe for a second that Nick Sirianni made the call to get rid of Sean Desai. If he hired him, to get rid of him in less than a season. So again, I think that came from said you need to get rid of him. We need to put something in. We're about to go to the playoffs. This team needs a shake up. It has not worked out. Matt Patricia came into becoming the scapegoat is beyond me, but I'm all off topic there. But offensive scheming is hot freaking garbage. I can't even use the term vanilla. It is blah. It is blank. It is tasteless. It's too simple, but yet it takes forever to develop. Go back to your number 3? Is that Jalen? Is that the offensive line isn't blocking like they used to? Is that the guys aren't running the right routes or the running backs aren't there? The offensive scheming doesn't make sense. The something starts working, then they get off it real fast. Oh, look at it's working. We're killing time. We're putting scores on the clock. We run the ball down the field. Boom. We're going to stop doing it. And then we're going to have a 3 and out in 26 seconds and give the other team plenty of time to score. That can't happen. The offensive scheming for the entire game, the 4 minutes, and the 2-minute drills are atrocious. In the last 5 or 6 games, not looking at any stats, has to be the bottom of the league. I don't care what you tell me. The eye test tells me the most. The offensive scheming is garbage.
Garbage. You said it a few weeks ago too. So you've been a lot of people have been saying that, but you were on this weeks ago. I was half in on it, half not. I don't know how, and I actually messed up on my number 3. I was wondering why. Hurts was more like my honorable mention, so I'm gonna one more time put the right graphic up. I apologize here, but my number 3 is actually turnovers. I'm sick, man. I'm under the weather. I'm fighting through it. I really
we love
apologize.
you anyway, Fred. We love you.
But my number 3 was actually turnovers. I'll be quick about it. This team last year, their strength was not turning the football over. This year, they do it all the time. They just turn the ball over. Jalen Hurts is one of them. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith in the Cowboys game. Turnovers, they finally had a scoring turnover last week, which I thought, oh, wow, our defense actually did something defensively to score points. I guess they did Jalen Carter game, so the defense has come around the last few. Again, Jalen Carter against the Cowboys. But offensively, I think turnovers in this last, down this stretch has been an issue on both sides of the ball, whether it's takeaways, whether us turning the ball over, taking the ball away, or, our offense giving it to the defense. Number 2 is in line with you just said, the game plan. I don't know. I think maybe the scheme is good when they draw it up, but because there have been games, where they adjust in game and it's actually worked. But going into it, it just seems as though, like you said, and some of the players after we've played them, they already know what we're going to do. And it's very bland and vanilla. Like, we know the bubble screen's coming. We know the quarterback draw with Jalen Hurts is coming. And I understand these are staples of your offense, so you're going to run them, but not on 1st and 20, not on 2nd and 20. You're not catching anyone by surprise running these plays. So, and then defensively, it really game plan and coordinators kind of go in the same. It's a complete mess. You got Matt Patricia running Sean Desai's scheme. Like, if Matt Patricia was the defensive coordinator in the beginning of the year, we would be running a completely different scheme. He's calling plays for Sean Desai's defense. It's so ass backwards.
Then why fire Sean Desai? Or demote him, or whatever term you want to use. Why demote him if you're just going to run his play but under a different?
Well, you can't install a new defense, Al. You
I know, but then why not run it out then? Because it's just a different face is going to make a difference. I don't. It makes 0 sense.
It just shows how much of a mess is what's going on. Like, initially, Sean Desai, the 3rd down play calling was taken away from him. Like, he would call 1st and 2nd, and then Patricia would do 3rd. It's just very asinine, the way the Eagles are going about their game plan, the way they're handling it. And, offensively, they run the ball, I feel like, at the wrong times. Like, we'll show some commitment to the run, have success, and then they just stop running the ball. There's no short stuff. There's no game plan for the blitz. There's no, slants over the middle. Like, what happened to the slant? And this is another knock on Hurts, who I kind of knocked, who would have been my honorable mention. Like, he would never throw the ball over the middle of the field. Last year, we started getting balls over the middle of the field. We're like, oh, he turned the corner. Now we're back to not throwing over the middle of the field. Where's Goddard? That run pass option to Goddard. That's a great play. Why don't we run that 10? I almost cursed. Why don't we run that 10 times? Or let's run it 5 times in a row. And when they stop it on the 4th time, let's go to another play. And another play, 2 plays after that. And then come back with the same formation. Set up the RPO like you're going to run it again, but hand it off this time. And then come back and do it again. Like Andy Reid would always do that, hit you with the same play over and over again until you stop it. It's just very frustrating, the game plan and the play calling. That's my number 2, which kind of aligns with you.
Real quick, before we get into number 1, I remind you guys that this top 5 breakdown is brought to you by PhillySportsTrips.com. Hey, guys, maybe you want to get away this March to some warmer weather. Go with Philly Sports Trips. Go to spring training. They have a lot of different options lined up for you, different trips, different times. And go to Clearwater and have a beautiful time on the beach, taking some early spring training baseball with amazing fans, with amazing people over at PhillySportsTrips.com. So many different options they have. Maybe you don't want to go warm. You want to stay cold. You want to play a little hockey. You want to see those Flyers. You want to watch them take on the Devils outside at MetLife Stadium. Well, guess what? You have the opportunity with a great, inexpensive trip with PhillySportsTrips.com. Go to PhillySportsTrips.com. Check them all out at PhillySportsTrips.com. Travel with the best, I always say, because they are the best. I can say that because I've traveled with them numerous times. Now, number 1, kind of alluded to it earlier. And I said it, underestimating our defensive personnel. There was a loss of like 11 guys on defense going in from last year to this year. They got some young guys, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis sticking around, but the linebacker. Listen, I know there's a certain guy on this network who's probably wringing his hands because I'm going to say this, but Howie Roseman has dropped the ball numerous times. About the linebacker situation. Now it has come back to bite us. Majorly come back to bite us that we put zero stock. Not talking about being middle of the road with our linebackers. I'm talking about bottom of the barrel. And hoping to grab some guys during the trade deadline. Doesn't always work out. Having 2 guys, listen, when I thought Slade was gone, they signed Bradbury. I was okay with it. But once they signed Slade back and Bradbury, we had our 2 cornerbacks over 30. The Eagles as an organization have not been able to nurture and build any young cornerbacks. And now that's biting us in the butt because now we have to go out and pay for them every time. They don't draft well with them, or we wait too long to draft them, and they're getting guys who aren't top tier. I mean, they've got lucky with some players over the years. But ultimately, the TJ Edwards of the world, we really liked him. Kind of looked past him when he left. But guess what? It's biting us in the butt now. And looking past and underestimating our defense. And when I say underestimating, I mean underestimating how bad they are. Not underestimating how good they are. Underestimating how bad our defensive personnel is altogether. I don't care who's running the scheme. And that's why I kind of feel bad a little bit for Sean Desai. I feel like he got handed Hugo and asked him to go win a NASCAR race. Well, it's not going to work that way.
Yeah, the linebackers, I don't think he never addressed it. Like, he tried. He drafted Nakobe Dean. It just didn't work out. You can't pay big money for linebackers in this league.
I get it.
You can't go get star ones, but maybe you keep some of
middle
the guys
of the road
left.
Middle of the road.
Or maybe address it. He did try to bring some guys in at training camp. Miles Jack, who's now playing for the Steelers. Suddenly he saw the scheme and he's like, I'm going to retire. And now he's back playing for the Steelers.
I'd rather be a plumber than work the scheme of the Eagles.
But yeah, you got to build through the draft and you got to hit on these corners. I agreed with signing those guys, but you should have drafted corners. You can make the argument, and that'll go good in the defensive line, drafting safety as well. Reed Blankenship, he's a nice story, but he can't cover a lick, a little bit, but he comes up and hits people. It's a struggling thing for me. But definitely the defensive personnel got to be better than this, which alludes to my number 1 issue with this team right now and really all season, the defensive line. This defensive line was supposed to be a complete powerhouse. Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith coming out, Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Brandon Graham. These are names. It was Javon Hargrave that much of a problem on this defense that now that he's gone, they cannot get a pass rush anymore? I mean, we sit here with 41 sacks. The edge rushers haven't got a sack since November. It's a huge problem, and to me, it is ultimately the number one reason why everyone else is struggling. We had 70 sacks last year. We have 41 right now, which is top or bottom five, I guess. It's bottom 10 technically, but there's 5 teams with 41 sacks, and then the last place is the Jaguars with 38. Rams have 38. So even though if you look at it, they're top 12 win sacks. They're not, or they're bottom 12. It's middle of the pack. It's really not, because they're 3 off the worst. So they have Hassan Reddick dropping back into coverage. These all kind of intertwine with each other. You know, we need to attack. They need to attack this defense. They need to get a pass rush up through this defensive line. And you see, Brian Baldinger coming out, ripping Jordan Davis. I mean, the Dallas game, Jordan Davis, I thought he ran to the sideline, make that huge play. He looked like he was in great shape that night, made that huge tackle. Everyone was praising him then. We need to get sacks. I'm sick of the Pro Football Focus rating that we're top 10 in Harry's and all that stuff. That don't matter if the quarterback can comfortably step up in the pocket and make plays, or scramble out of the pocket and make plays. They can have pressure on them all day long. You need to get sacks to cause turnovers. I understand guys are getting the ball out fast. The defensive line has been a huge disappointment this year across the board. And hopefully, we can find a way to right this here at the end. I really don't know, though. They're like mud. They're like stuck in mud. They can't get off blocks. The run is starting to eat us apart. James Conner ran all over us this past Sunday. Like, to get no penetration up front. If you lose football games up front, you're a lineman now. I was a lineman. It's won in the trenches first. And you're not going to win many football games in this league if you can't win up front.
No. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. Not just that. I mean, the defensive line, if you watch the all 22, or you go back and watch the video, you're absolutely right. They are not getting off their blocks. They look slower than everybody else. This team was the top run-stopping defense in the league for the first 10 games or less, or about 10 games, first half of the season, whatever you want to say. And now they look like they couldn't stop, a high school team running on them. The defense, defenses are scheming. Offensive line are scheming against the defensive line, and all they're doing is simple little maneuvers where they're taking their whole line and going one way, except for maybe a pulling guard, a pulling tackle, or both, going the other way and opening it wide open. And these guys are getting caught in it. The defensive linemen are getting out of their defensive line lanes, because there are lanes they got to stay in to kind of keep the blocking going. Because if everybody just keeps picking a side, left or right, or, it's going to leave big gaps. Like you see, Jordan Davis is looking gas. Now, this isn't his rookie year, but he's still young. Jalen Carter you haven't heard his name much, and it's been tough to watch. That's there, and I'll give you my honorable mention. It's going to be Hart. There is some heart issues with him, and it kind of goes with the philosophy and everything. That's why I came to my honorable mention. But at the same time, could probably fix a good portion of these top 5, including sloppy mistakes and the adversity and philosophy and the scheming. Everything the Eagles do looks slow. It just I watch these other teams, and they're coming out and they're hitting people hard, and they're coming at you fast. Everything, like, the Eagles look like they're half speed everybody else is, and you're gonna win nothing with that, and you can see it now.
Agreed.
So it's tough to watch, but I mean, we've been saying this all year long. Hey, they can get it right this week. Well, this is the last week they can get it right, because after the next week they get it wrong again, they're out. They're done. Time to move on to 2024 season. So this is get right or get out type situation for the Eagles. But I'm gonna bring it down. We're gonna change a little conversation here. But real quick, I want to remind you guys that this is brought to you by TerryInjuryLaw.com. Listen, guys, things happen in life, and you need help. and you get hurt at work, you get hurt in a car accident, personal injury, criminal law, David R. Cherry is the man with the plan who's going to help you fight for your rights. That's right. CherryInjuryLaw.com. Call Dave Cherry directly at 610-565-0300. Again, workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal law. Dave Cherry is the man. 610-565-0300. And let's try to end this show off in a more cheerful way and talk about a team that's kind of.
Well, hold up. I do have some. Well, it's been broken, but we've been doing the show. Some breaking news for you.
Mhm.
The Eagles now have landed 6 Pro Bowlers.
Really?
And those Pro Bowlers are Hassan Reddick, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, and DeAndre Swift.
Well, speaking of Pro Bowlers, did you see the Dicker the Kicker Pro Bowl video on the Chargers Twitter?
Did not.
I pulled it up because it's classic. And here you go.
Have you ever been victimized by a missed field goal?
No good! Wide to the right! No good!
Ah! My name is Cameron Dicker, and I'll kick for you. 50, 40, 30, doesn't matter. I'll make it.
Bang! Bang! Bang!
Rain, sleet, or snow, this leg is ready to go. Don't believe me? Ask him.
Cameron Dicker is a really good kicker. He's outstanding, and I love him.
And I did not edit that. So don't be and let me kick for you at the Pro Bowl. Ah! So go to chargers.com/vote to send me and my leg to kick for you. Vote for me! Vote for me! Pro Bowl 2023, baby, let's go!
Awesome.
Former Eagles kicker. Yeah, I thought it was funny. I had to play that one.
That was good. He was a former Eagle. You know that, right?
That's right.
Yeah, he's a former Eagle. He always has a clever name. He's a good kicker, man. I picked him up in fantasy a couple of weeks too. So, did he make the Pro Bowl?
Well, he's trying to. I don't know. I guess if they're making their announcements, I guess we'll find out shortly. But I just thought that was the best thing that the Chargers have done all year.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I hate the delay here. I'm trying to see if I can find that real quick. Hold on. AFC Pro Bowlers, kickers. No, he had no shot at getting it over Justin Tucker. What am I even considering him for? Justin Tucker's probably the greatest kicker of all time.
Yeah, but that also could, if he ran second place or something or whatever, he could still get in because if they go, because if the Ravens do as well as everybody expects them to do, he might not even look at the Pro Bowl.
Well, 3/5 of the Eagles' offensive line makes the Pro Bowl. Hassan Reddick, despite recent struggles, has had some big games. In the beginning of the year, he was our closer.
Has Hassan Reddick struggles? Would that be a scheme issue? When you're dropping him back 7 times in a game, when we already tried that once quickly with Jonathan Gannon in 2021, why are they doing to me again? That is we always used to call
maybe but 7. It would be issues for the win or loss, or maybe he gets a sack. But 7 plays out of 50 snaps, you don't just disappear.
Yeah, but my point is, we used to call that when we see coaches when they're struggling, we used to call that the spaghetti plays because they're throwing the spaghetti against the wall to see if it sticks. And that's last ditch effort type stuff. And that's why, listen, Hassan Reddick needs to step up. Don't get me wrong. But again, that's where I have to question some of this defensive issues.
Who the hell isn't questioning some of these defensive issues?
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the possibly the greatest NBA season we have ever seen in the history of sports.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So Pat Bev, as you know, every other athlete nowadays has their own podcast. And he has a podcast. I think it's on Barstool, if I remember correctly. And on his podcast, has been strewn all over social media on Twitter and everything today. Pat Bev says, talk about Joel Embiid. If he finished this season the way he is playing now, it would be the greatest season of a single player that ever played basketball. Do you agree with that, or is that just him pumping up his own teammate?
I mean, are you fucking watching this shit?
Yeah, I am. I'm asking you.
Like,
do you?
Like, I mean, it's remarkable what he's doing. It is what's his name? Wilt Chamberlain-esque. It's if he can continue this, he's putting up 35 and 15 every night. It's not like he's just scoring. He's doing everything. And at a high point level, too. He's just dominating. I agree with Pat Bev to an extent. He's 15 straight games with 30 points. The last 5 NBA players to do that were James Harden in 2018, Kobe Bryant in 2002, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1971, and Wilt Chamberlain in 1963. That's it. They're the 5. So, like, this is a valid comment because if he continued, we're at 15 straight games. How many more? I think he has 2 more. He breaks the record. He breaks Kareem's record. I forget how many Wilt has. Wilt's stats last forever. Yes, he could statistically have the greatest season we've ever seen, and he's a center. You know what I mean? In a league that is eliminating centers. When Kareem and Wilt played, the center was a prominent position. We're in a league where the center is on the way out. Jokic is a point center. He's a good center. He's a great center. I'll take Embiid over him. I love Jokic. He makes the players around him better. He's an awesome player. If you don't have shooters around him, though, he's not going to be as good. If you don't have shooters around Embiid, he's still putting up 25 and 15 a night. But I just think Joel Embiid, we don't realize. I said this like 5 years ago on our show, 3 years ago, for whatever it was when we were like, he was yelling F you to the crowd and stuff. Like, we don't appreciate this guy enough. Like, on a bad night, he has 20 and 10. And he needs a chip, though, and he needs to do it in the playoffs. But as far as this level, we haven't seen this from Embiid yet, and it's because of Nick Nurse.
I mean, and let's be honest, he had his MVP last year, his MVP year last year, I should say, and he's already playing it above that at this, compared this time to that time last year. He's also got 14 straight games with 30 and 10. The only 2 guys to do that, guys you've already just said, Kareem and Wilt. I mean, it is amazing to watch. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, we don't give him enough credit. And I actually have to say, like, you talked about people getting real upset because he was yelling at the crowd and the fans and being Trowell Embiid, which was annoying.
That was like a legit shut the F up. Like that was like,
yeah.
But I'm saying, like, he was pissed. Like, that was back maybe 4 years ago. That wasn't like him trolling.
No, but I'm saying, like, we've seen those moments like that. But he's matured, I guess, is the best way to say it. Like, he's matured. Like right now, he just says all the right things. He has his he's being like, he has his little motions when he's kicking ass, little DX signs almost. But other than that, he is just a consummate professional right now, and he's not letting anybody get into his head, and I love it. And maybe it was Nick Nurse that unlocked it with. And speaking of Nick Nurse, former Nick Nurse player when he played for the Raptors, Pascal Siakam has been rumored in a lot of places. One of those places has been Philly. Would you want to see Pascal or care to see him? Does he make a difference, Fred? Or is it just another rumor down the notes because of his connection to Nick Nurse?
I want to add one other thing. We gave the 5 with the 30 points. There's also another streak he has going with 30 points and 10 rebounds.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Okay. So
14 straight.
So it's 15 in a row now. 15 in a row is the longest streak. Kareem did it 16 times with the Bucks in 1971, 1972. So if we can get to 17, he will then be the only center to ever have done it that many games in a row. To your Pascal Siakam quote, I I don't think Nick Nurse wants old Raptors here. He made a comment I think it was a training camp I read today that, when they were talking about all the trades, he's like, I don't necessarily want my old guys here. He basically said that. There's a reason why he's no longer on the Raptors. Pascal Siakam is a good addition. He would move into Tobias Harris's spot. He's a power forward. I don't know. I don't know if that's the move or not.
Is he an upgrade from Tobias Harris?
He is, but he's not an upgrade for a champion. I don't know. Tobias, I know he has his struggles, inconsistencies, his issues, but, Siakam, I don't know. I don't see him bringing the ball up ever. He's very good. Siakam's an all-star. I don't mean to knock him. I think what we need on this team is another ball handler more than anything to spell Maxey. Right now, it's really Melton. He's not a great ball handler. He's okay. Pat Bev is just an energy guy. He can dribble, but he just runs the offense very smoothly. But I need like a real ball handler, a guy that can come off the bench and really, really, handle the ball, find open guys, knock down some shots, a scorer, another scorer would be good. I'm not going to yell about Pascal Siakam, but I'd rather keep Tobias, excuse me, and then just have the cap space next year. Because you're probably going to give up picks, too, to get Siakam. And I'd rather go after Anunoby in the offseason, even though he went to the Knicks now in the trade. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, looking at these teams now, I'm just looking at our conference. All teams under 500 go from 9 down. That's the Nets, the Bulls, the Hawks, the Raptors, the Hornets, the Wizards, and the Pistons. Just looking at those teams, is there anybody, if you had a realistic shopping list, who would you pick off those teams?
I mean, I'm very much a Stan Pat guy. I've been Stan Pat since the offseason. I'm sticking to it. Like, I really believe that the NBA has moved away from this nonsense that LeBron started of these super teams, and like teams aren't winning that way anymore. And now it's more about having a real team, and we have the superstars here. We have Maxey, we have Embiid. I don't necessarily think we need to add a third. If there is a guy, though, that I would want more than anything else, and he's on a losing team right now, it's Mikal Bridges. That is the guy.
That's my guy. That's who I got written down here.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah.
That's my guy. I loved him since Nova. I was so mad. And I think he's not the superstar. He can't be that guy, which you're seeing with the Brooklyn Nets. Mm-hmm. But if you put him in here as the small forward, bring that length defense, be able to knock down that three, oh my gosh, that would be the move for me. Mikal Bridges. But I don't know that they would give him up, though. You know what I mean?
It's going to cost. I mean, it's going to cost players and picks. Like, you're looking, from straight up, you're looking for him. If you're going to get him, I'm guessing, I don't know what he makes off the top of my head, but, like a Batum, maybe a Melton, and then you're probably looking up 2 picks easily, a first round and at least a second round, but that could be even low. I mean, the Nets, would be in control of that conversation, to be honest with you. They would definitely have to be the ones that make, without giving up too much, it would be hard. Like, you would have to give up a lot of key players. Maybe finally Furkan can go get his jersey somewhere else. I've been wanting the Sixers to right that mistake for a long time, bro.
Besides his rookie year, this is the lowest he's been shooting from 3. His field goal percentage is the second lowest of his career right now. For 2-point shots, his free throw percentage is also down. His free throws per game are down from last year.
He needs a new scenery.
And his points per game are down from 26.1 to 20.9. I mean, if there is a way to get him, I would give it up and make it happen. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's my realistic wish list guy. Looking at all those teams, they're going to struggle. They're going to need picks. I mean, the Sixers have some to work with now, And
but per Woj today, he believes Brooklyn's intent is to build and add talent around Bridges. So, let me ask you this then. I'm sorry I cut you off there, but I have to ask you before I forget.
Mm-hmm.
If you could get Ben Simmons back here on the cheap to come off the bench, handle the ball, run transition D, play defense, would that be a consideration?
It depends.
Embiid has just Embiid and Nick Nurse, the Nick Nurse effect as well. I just dawned on me as I'm looking at it. He's injured. He's not coming back I think he's coming back in a few weeks with his back. Embiid has spoke highly of him recently in a podcast. I'd be intrigued with that.
So my pushback on that would be, number one, he is injured a lot. And, we always wondered how many of those injuries were real, but now he's injured a lot. Is that because he's not happy in New York or in Brooklyn or whatever? Is that because he's injured a lot? It's always when it comes to mentality, I get nervous. I mean, if we're getting him for a bag of balls, fine, and it's worth a shot. You're only giving up maybe a couple insignificant players, and then maybe a roster spot. But other than that, I really can't entertain that because of the mentality. Because let's be honest, not many. I would say it's going to be more or less than 4 having him come back. So if he did come back and they made a move and they brought him back in, then they would worry about, oh, okay, well, people are going to boo him and they're going to get in. They're going to get on him. Is that good? Is he still mentally frail to continue that way? And that's why I would say probably not.
I don't think he'd be off the bench. That's my whole point. All the pressure would be off him. He would just come in, run the second team,
mentally, can he come off the bench?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, because has he humbled himself? Because I don't feel like I haven't seen. No, I haven't been following him.
He's been hurt, but I just intrigued. Too much Ben talk. It just intrigued me, so I had to bring it up.
Sure, no, it's a good question.
But other than that, I'm staying in pat unless I can move Korkmaz and get me like another shooter in here. Would love another just knock down George Niang that could play defense, that could hit threes. But I like the way Covington can shoot the 3. Morris has been hot of late, especially with the catch and shoot threes.
You ever watch him do it too? You ever watch him make a corner 3? It's like he has his hands up in the air and he doesn't move. He gets it and it just like it's a very weird looking shot, but it's a good shot. Like it works. Like it's awkward but good, I guess is a weird way of putting it.
Yeah. One point he was like a few weeks ago, he's like 62% on catch and shoot threes.
It's pretty crazy,
which is insane. So and then everyone was like trying to get rid of Marcus Morris, and I'm like, he loves it being here, dude. I want to win a title. I want to win it with him. I always want it. And he brings a little grit to you too. You got Beverly here. I just think you don't mess with this, man. You just grow it and see what happens. And then you Tobias walks next year, and you use that money to continue to build it.
If this team continues to play this way, and you're looking like, do you feel that they can win a championship staying pat?
I do. I don't. The only concern for me,
I guess that's the key question,
is the Boston Celtics, man, because they as well are a team. They have the same core outside of Marcus Smart being traded. They add Drew Holiday, who is a championship guy and a good for Marcus Smart and fits what Missoula wants to do over there. But then I also think that Nick Nurse will run circles around Missoula in a playoff series, coaching wise, X's and O's wise. I think Nick Nurse has more talent here than he's had since the Kawhi year. So can we get another ball handler, a Monte Morris, someone like that? I don't want to give up all these assets for not I just think it's foolish. I think star hunting is out, building teams is in.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's a lot of guys, like I said, that I would like, but probably Wise would be too expensive to pick up or to add into this. Like we've talked about guys like we thought we were gonna get traded with Ben Simmons, like Tyrese Halliburton, but he's got like a $260 million contract or some ridiculous number.
Wait, what? What did you just say? The Pacers are going to get rid of Halliburton?
No. I said like guys like that, like teams that are not always who always like they're always like the like make their way in at the last spot or two, or they're outside looking in. But he's still got I think he's still got a pretty large contract coming up, right? Maybe I'm wrong.
Halliburton? Yeah, he's locked in.
Is he locked in? Okay.
Yeah. That's why I was like, wait, what? You got me excited now.
Well, I'm just looking at this now because they have the club option. See, here's my thing: is I'm looking at Sports Track, and they're saying it's only about $4 million a year, his salary. But then I know the contract extensions were discussed back in the summer, but maybe that was never got through. Oh no!
You know, who's another guy? Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah, they signed him.
Yeah.
Malcolm Brogdon's another guy that's intriguing that you could bring here. He can handle the ball and he can knock down a three. He knows that Boston team well, and he would be a good one to bring back. You get picks.
I honestly think I think Bridges could be the most reasonable one to get. I think the Nets will demand a lot. I think ultimately they could probably work something out where the Sixers are going to have to give up some stuff, but not sell the farm for, or have a ridiculous contract on your hand to deal with, to be stuck with. So, it'll be interesting. And we're running out of time here. A couple moments. I want to jump on things real quick before we jump into this conversation. I want to remind you guys that this show is brought to you by Dolan's Bar at 23 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park, right in Delco, right off 95. No matter where you're coming from, Wilmington, Jersey, Philly, or you're in Delco already, it's easy to get to. PJ is the man. Great new food menu I'm going to have out for you guys soon. DolansBar.com. Check them out on social media. Quizzo Music, great times. You never know who's going to be there. I've hung out with many current and ex-Philly sports legends there. So go to DolansBar.com or just follow them on social media to see all the current upcoming, or just simply go 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park. So talking Phillies.
Real quick, hold on. I just want to. I didn't realize he's an expiring contract. I think Monte Williams would be the play. He just played with Jokic and Jamal Murray. He would fit perfect. Championship caliber guy. He's in the final year of a 3-year, $27.7 million contract.
That's total per year.
That's total. So he would expire at the end of the deal. So like if it didn't work out, he would just move on.
Where's he at right now?
The Wizards.
Oh yeah, I mean we're the second worst team in the league right now.
Yeah.
So,
no. Same colors. The Pistons.
They're the worst team in the league.
As soon as you said second to worst, I'm like, I thought it was the worst. I'm like, oh shit, yeah.
Well, they only have 3 wins right now, right? The whole year. They just had like a 27 game losing streak at one point.
They are putting the process to shame.
Wow, they are.
But you won't see them get forced on a fraud ass GM like Brian Colangelo. You won't see that happen.
No. So Phillies they signed Aaron Nola back in November. They've talked about Zach Wheeler being the contract extension being one of the most important things for them to do. But Dombrowski was on the record recently saying they're not done yet. They're going to make moves. Do you believe that? And if you don't, do you believe they are good enough to run it back with the current talent they have on the team?
I think they're good enough to run it back with the current talent on the team, just a different, philosophy a bit at the plate.
The philosophy is called small ball.
Well, it's look at pitches, like you stop swinging it. Like that's ultimately they choked, but they were a game away from going back to the World Series. So that's very hard to do in itself. So I think they can, and I think I think they're going to make a move though. There's Blake Snell out there. I think there's real life to that. And if
You think it's pitching, and they're good with their current lineup for the most part? You see the things with who's the center fielder? Why am I completely blanking out?
Rojas.
Like you see him working out. You see he's working hard on it. The guy, like, me and Joe, when you weren't here one day, we talked about it. Rojas had a 300 batting average until the until the playoff run, and he kind of came up cold pretty quickly. So I don't know if the moment got to him or whatever. But I like Rojas, and I think he could be center fielder of the future for the Phillies. But is there enough time to nurture that?
Yeah, I think they're going to give him an opportunity. I mean, like you said, he was starting to hit the ball, but the guy doesn't even know how to bunt. I think he needs to learn how to bunt is a big thing, so that if we're ever in those spots, he can be a guy that contact hits here and there, but then is able to get on base with his legs. He's so fast. If he can just learn how to bunt, Juan Pierre used to do that all the time. Just use that as a way to, get on base as well. They probably are done with the bats, I would say. Rhys Hoskins is still out there, isn't he?
That is true, but
I don't want him.
Yeah, but my question, where do you put him? Where do you put him?
I want him
to get him for a steal.
I want him as a bench DH is what I want him as, and that's it. A power guy off the bench, and I don't know that necessarily fits him because I feel like, well, no, it might. He gets on one of his hot streaks, just let him ride, and then once he gets cold, he just sits for a month. I really think the pitching staff is what they should address. And Blake Snell, before I was like, no, let's not get Blake Snell because it was between Noah and Snell. I wanted Yamamoto. And then who's the other guy was available? There was another guy, I feel like.
Hader, the closer?
Nah, what nothing to do with Hader. But anyhow, if we get Blake Snell, you got a pretty good rotation. Probably the best rotation since the four aces that we've had here.
Probably.
Wheeler.
I guess that
Nola,
rotation would be
Snell.
Wheeler, Snell, Nola. because you have questions you have to answer, like what's going on with Walker.
I think he would be in the rotation.
He's on a 4-year contract or something like that, so they have no choice in the matter at this point. But
he wasn't bad. He was a solid 5, 4 or 5.
Yeah, but it's like what happened? Why couldn't he couldn't get that little when they were playing those, bullpen games? Why he couldn't get in over certain guys? That's my question. And he had a lot to say about it. So
he did have a lot to say about it. That is correct. But isn't that not a strength of his, though? Ain't there guys you just put in spots? Not that Topper's even good at that. Like Kimbrel's not a guy to do that, yet he put him in the 7th at one and almost blew that game. So, I don't know. I think he's under contract. He comes back and they have a conversation and he pitches like he has been. If not,
listen, I have no problem from a talent standpoint. If he's our number 5 and Ranger Suarez is our number 4, I'm a pretty happy guy. Don't get me wrong. Again, kind of what I was saying earlier, I think the philosophy has to be stop trying to swing for the fences every time and have guys who will put the ball on the ground. And because I think that was the difference between, because that's what the Diamondbacks did to us. They finally said, listen, if you want to hit for the fences, fine. We're not going to throw anything at you that's going to send it to the fences. And when they couldn't hit it for the fences, they started to panic. If they just had a guy who, like you said, drag bunt, or just put the ball in the play, kind of like, and what's his name? Brandon was doing. Like, he was doing it when Marsh would do it. Rojas, of course, wasn't doing it. But, like, he would get the ball on the ground, and things started going. And then the next guy would come up and try to hit a home run instead of just scoring him, and it drove me nuts.
We've been dealing with that, I feel like, I know. Yeah, I agree.
But the problem is you have too many guys. Like, go back to 2008 with those guys. Yeah, Ryan Howard, home run or nothing for a long time. That's
totally different back then. I'm just saying we know with this, like right now we've been dealing with it. They get it. They always do this. They do this throughout the entire year. This is what this team does. I don't say I agree with it. I'm with you. Take some pitches, all that, and then try to just make contact. Boom. I would like to see a little more out of him this year and see what we got there. You could upgrade there.
Brandon Marsh too. I mean, there's another guy whose bat had definitely come alive. Bryson's stock can continue to grow. That'd be amazing. I'm going to ask you one because we're going to
Real
get out of here in a
Muto.
moment.
Yeah, we
Real
do
Muto.
got to go because I got to go.
Yeah. So one last question because you asked me the Ben Simmons one. I got to ask you the typical Phillies one. Kyle Schwarber leadoff, yes or no? If Freddie Burns has his druthers.
Yeah, I never ever wanted him in leadoff, but he will be in leadoff, and
Does the numbers say so?
And the numbers say so across the board. Outside of, is it on base percentage? No, batting average maybe.
Batting average.
Batting average. You know, but he isn't as bad as everyone else when they make it out to be. So, you know, he does walk. I just, you know, I feel like, I don't know. I like everyone else. It might feel better to have speed at the top of the lineup or someone that's definitely going to get on via hit, but he will be though. So,
all right, guys. I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank you guys on Instagram who are kind of hanging out and paying attention with us. I want to thank our sponsors over at. Let's start with PhillySportsTrips.com. Check out all their great packages for Sixers, Flyers, Phillies, Eagles, Union packages, different packages all over the place. PhillySportsTrips.com. Go check them out. Sherry'sTickets.com. Get those hard to get tickets, no hidden fees, and save to 10% off by using that promo code EoP10. For those moments, the workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal law, David Cherry is your man at cherrylaw.com or 610-565-0300. Or go to Dolan's Bar to have a good old time, 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park, right off 95. Great central location at Delaware, Jersey, and Philadelphia. And, of course, if you're already in Delco, you can come check it out. Other than that, I'm Big Al.
I'm Freddie Burns.
We out of here.